Hey, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. Always excited to be with you and share the news with you. And, folks, fortunately, to the great work of John Solomon and a FOIA request, we have found out another J6 bombshell talking about 30 million lines of data collected through phone calls. Now, what's interesting about this is this was not your corrupt FBI doing it. It was done in Congress. And interestingly, it was done with this quote unquote Republican by the name of Denver Riggleman. So we're going to get into this. It's a wild story. The more I look into this Denver Riggleman, it's just shocking that he would ever call himself a Republican. But nonetheless, he got a preemptive pardon from Joe Biden. And I think now we know why. So let me just go right into the story out of just the news. Congress collected 30 million lines of phone data in Trump J6 probe, raising civil liberty concerns. Congressional investigators collected a stunning 30 million lines of phone data mapping contacts between conservatives and the Trump White House in the name of investigating the J6 Capitol breach, a massive dragnet that raises civil liberty concerns about the lack of limits on the ability of lawmakers to snoop on Americans' private phone calls. So I guess what I found interesting about this is I'm always so familiar with the FBI and their spying and the CIA and all this different stuff, all these government agencies. But this was actually Congress, and the story gets really wild. But do me a favor, smash that like, do chat in with where you're from. Jonathan from Australia, good to see you on the show this morning, folks. You all know Jonathan. Jonathan actually came to Minnesota to visit me one time. We went to a state park here in Minnesota and showed him around a little bit. Ate at Gordy's Warming House, I believe. Anyways, a good time. Thanks for coming over all the way from Australia. That's cool. Anyhow, so the mountainous collection of phone records were revealed to the FBI. So the Congress handed these over to the FBI or revealed them to them, the Chris Wray FBI in late 2023 by former Representative Adam Kinzinger, a GOP member of the Democrat-run House J6 Select Committee. Kinzinger. The cash was offered to the Bureau on the eve of the 2024 presidential election as evidence without requiring a warrant, according to an FBI document memorializing the offer that was reviewed by Just the News. So again, who needs warrants anymore, right? I mean, if you're Congress, you can just go do what you want. The memo says Kinzinger told the FBI that the phone data had been collected by then former Representative Denver Riggleman, an ex-Republican who was a staffer on the Capitol Riot Committee and who later helped Hunter Biden's legal team in its efforts to cast doubt on the laptop belonging to Joe Biden's son. This guy, quote unquote Republican, is so Republican, folks, that he helped to put forth the whole Russian laptop disinformation crap. You have got to be kidding me. And he calls himself a Republican. But wait, there's more, folks. I'm gonna skip out of the article. I've got a video to show you. So any Republican who's consistently going on PBS News, and there's multiple videos of him on PBS, okay, is a problem. But I want you to listen to this guy.
More now on President Trump's move to pardon or commute the sentences of the more than 1,500 January 6th defendants. Mass clemency for his supporters, like David Dempsey, who was sentenced to 20 years for 2 counts of assaulting police officers with a dangerous weapon. Seen here outside the U.S. Capitol, threatening to lynch elected officials. Proud Boys member Dominic Pizzola, who was serving a 10-year sentence for being one of the first to break into the Capitol, using a stolen riot shield to break a window. Scott Miller, who can be seen in the brown jacket near the entrance beating police with a pole. He was serving a 5.5-year sentence. And Jacob Chansley, otherwise known as the QAnon shaman, who pleaded guilty to obstruction of an official proceeding after trespassing on Capitol grounds.
How can you trespass on the Capitol? I mean, seriously, I understand that there's business to be done at the Capitol, but trespassing does seem like an odd charge when we, the people in the building. But Jacob Chansley, is one of the most harmless individuals. there was, period.
For more on the implications, we're joined now by former GOP congressman and advisor to the House January 6th Committee, Denver Riggleman. Welcome back to the NewsHour.
Thanks for having me.
These pardons, I mean, this is a real...
Thanks for having me on the PBS NewsHour.
Real body blow for the U.S. justice system in the sense that this was the single largest criminal investigation in U.S. history. Nearly every FBI field office, nearly every U.S. attorney's office were involved in these prosecutions. Now,
okay, this is interesting. He calls it a body blow to the U.S. justice, and it is to the way of them doing business, not to the actual justice in this country. Because let me ask you a question, as we're now learning Antifa, which is not an organization, but actually is an organization financed by left-wing nut jobs. Okay, if we're at the point now where we can clearly see that all these rent-a-riots were going on, and it seems the U.S. Department of Justice had no interest in it, but they were very interested in grandmas at J6. Okay? It's nuts.
All but 14 people have been pardoned. The other 14 had their sentences commuted. How does all of this land with you?
It's heinous. We have insurrectionists that were actually pardoned. And I think it's just ludicrous that's happening.
Insurrectionists, folks. I mean, because what you saw was an insurrection going on. I mean, they were going to completely overthrow the government with what? The lack of weaponry that they had
happening in the United States of America. And I don't think it's just a body blow against the Department of Justice. I think it's a body blow against the American people. And the fact is that the Republican Party can't claim to run on law and order ever again. And for me personally, knowing what happened that day, that these coup-like movements and these insurrectionists are being pardoned by the presidents of the United States, I think it rattles our allies also, and it really shakes the foundations of everything we stand for as Americans.
What's the real-world impact of these pardons and the fact that these rioters are...
Do you guys feel shaken? Shaken to your very core that Trump pardoned these G6ers? Do you? I'm just curious. He says it just shakes us all.
Being released from prison.
Well, I think the real world impact are these individuals are back in their communities where they can organize, they can run for office. Or Sixers that are presented with medals, that they actually get positions within certain government offices, maybe on the staffs of congressional representatives who support this kind of nonsense and this kind of insanity. I think that's the real world implications. And also when you look at U.S.
Oh, heaven forbid they should be able to go on with their lives. Look at this. Blaine Scott, nobody was charged with an insurrection. I remember I was kind of out of YouTube world. YouTube was on one of their little things where they were not liking me so much again. I think they demonetized the channel and had put it down. But I remember when I found out, like within minutes, I found out that Jack Smith could not pursue the insurrection charge. I remember when he realized he couldn't do that, and I made a video about it, and it went gangbusters. Nobody was charged with insurrection. They used an obscure Enron era rule about obstruction of Congress. Hey, one of you isn't shaken. Look at this. Papa Don, you're not shaken. I think you're the only one who's not shaken. I mean, this is crazy.
Capitol Police and those that were attacked that day, it's really this baseline disrespect against law enforcement, right? It's not back the blue, it's screw the blue. And I think that's what you're seeing from the GOP today. And, for me, how are they going to recruit the type of people that they need when they see that there's nobody backing them up, especially when they were trying to protect the Capitol?
This is really rich. When my friend went through the riots in Minneapolis, you want to talk about not backing the blue? Give me a freaking break. Okay? Give me a break. Good night, George Floyd and all this. And then you got, hands up, don't shoot Michael Brown and Barack Obama, making this whole narrative against the cops that wasn't even true. Give me a break.
And our most, I would say, enshrined and valuable institutions that were attacked that day by really ignorant, violent insurrectionists.
You were extended.
Okay, now what's interesting, folks, I'm gonna for those of you who are new to my channel and don't know, I was at January 6th. I never once did I fear for my life. never once. I actually saw, I kind of had like a vision of what was going to happen, almost not necessarily a vision, and knowing. A vision is when you can clearly see. It wasn't, I kind of saw it, but it wasn't like laid out in my mind. But I walked by the Capitol that morning and I looked at the perimeter security and I'm like, this is going down, because no matter what, people were upset. I mean, yeah, we weren't happy, but I could see that, that it was all going down, and I kind of saw it as a trap. So I actually went and had lunch when things got really, really crazy, because I knew that it was a trap. I remember specifically, heaven forbid one of these people who are pardoned get a voice in our government. No joke, Dave. Thank you for that, by the way. But I remember the guy up on the scaffolding. He turns out he was a professor from somewhere in the Northeast. The Gateway Pundit did an expose on that guy. They matched his teeth, everything. But what was he called? Not Bullhorn Man, but there was Fence Cutter Guy. There was, oh yes, Scaffold Commander. And I remember him clearly on the Bullhorn. Charge forward, hold the line. And, there's this big crowd of people. And so if you understand anything about crowd psychology, these Fed plants that were out there, and this guy will tell you it's all crazy and Ray Epps nonsense and all this, but well, why haven't we arrested Ray Epps? No, I'm serious. I mean, this guy here, hold on.
One of the preemptive pardons that former President Biden issued to members and staffers on the House January 6th committee. How did that process play out? Did you have to?
Somebody took the oath as a United States Congressman, as a J6 committee member. It really does make you feel like a stranger in your own country when you have to worry about a preemptive pardon on actually trying to protect our institutions. And I would do it all over again. So no, there was no consultation. It just happened, and I got it through a text message.
Does the former president's novel and sweeping use of the pardon pen make it harder to criticize Donald Trump for the pardons that he issued?
No, I think when you have preemptive pardons of people who try to uphold the law, people who were actually doing their work under a United States Congress resolution, and when you have pardons of violent, superstition-driven fantasists who would rather attack the Capitol than have the rational ability to tell fantasy from fiction or fantasy from fact. Those who literally believe that The Lord of the Rings is a documentary. I think that's the difference here.
Okay, hold on. Because this guy, sorry, I forgot to put you heard the audio though. But I want to ask this question. How many of you in my audience, okay, how many of you believe that The Lord of the Rings was a documentary? I need to know, because this guy is saying that, if you people believe this J6 stuff, you believe that The Lord of the Rings was a documentary. Now he's going to go on and talk about Ray Epps, and here I'll add him back in.
It's really hard, right, to even compare the preemptive pardons from Biden for January 6th committee members and congressional members to pardons of violent criminals that have no ability to discern fact from fiction. I think it should absolutely frighten the American people.
The Trump team's view is that people shouldn't be surprised, given that Donald Trump broadly previewed this during the campaign, and they tend to think that the reaction in the rest of the country will be different than it is here in Washington, where January 6th seems to loom larger in people's thinking. And you can take it a step further and ask the question, if Donald Trump didn't pay a price for allegedly inciting the Capitol riot, he's now protected by the presidency, why should the foot soldiers?
That's maybe the one thing that he did, was his pardon actually showed that he thought he was responsible for it. And I think that's something we can look at. Obviously he didn't do it for any noble reason, but he was ultimately responsible for what happened on January 6th. And as far as the foot soldiers, are we saying that people that are of sound mind actually think that QAnon is a real thing? If you think about that, what happened that day, that was purely based on conspiracy theories. Every single person that day, whether they attacked the Capitol or not, believed in something that was false.
There we go. So every single person whether they attack the Capitol or not. So this is the whole point of J6. So even though I was just there at a political event, okay, I'm somehow a conspiracy theorist, some sort of QAnon. That's what they always use, and all this. It's ridiculous. Okay, completely ridiculous. So he's saying that by virtue of me being there, I'm somehow a nut job.
They believed in this sort of cult-like thing, right? That the election was stolen, whether it was through German servers or through broken algorithms or space satellites or NSA or CIA.
Let me ask a question here, my audience. How many of you believe that something was wrong with the 2020 election? How many of you believe that? Just let's let that play out in the chat.
Or white vans with ballots, all the ludicrous, ridiculous things that was pushed into the ecosystem by Trump and his minions. So yeah.
White vans with ballots. Folks, have you seen the security cam footage from 3 a.m. at the TCS Center in downtown Detroit? If it's so ridiculous, why is there a video of it and the box is being unloaded?
That should scare the hell out of people, that you have somebody up there, right, that pardoned a bunch of violent people, where he's actually sort of saying, yeah, it was me. I'm the one who told him to do it. And so for me, I don't care how other people react in Washington, D.C., or care how other people react outside of Washington, D.C. What I care about is truth. What I care about is fighting corruption. And what we're seeing in the Republican Party now is such a deep rot that I don't know if you can actually take it out. So for me,
okay, this is interesting. So this guy is a real piece of work. Okay, don't worry, I got some more on him. And there was a deep rot within the Republican Party. It's called Senator Mitch McConnell type rot. It's called uniparty hack type rot. It's called rot of a party that will go along with Democrats to avoid shutdowns and spend more of our money and put us further in the hole. Just wait. This guy who calls himself a quote unquote Republican here.
I served as a Republican in Congress.
I served as a Republican in Congress.
We're both voting for Abigail Spanberger for governor. I saw firsthand that Abigail was one of the most bipartisan members of Congress.
My support for Abigail isn't about party. It's what's best for Virginia.
Abigail and I had our policy differences, but she has integrity. I know it in the way she acts and the legislation.
Did you guys see the debate when Abigail Spanberger could not even answer a simple question about boys and girls lockers rooms? Did you see this? I mean, where she just froze up on stage. She's so full of integrity. This is wild. So this guy is supporting Abigail Spanberger.
That she carries.
I'm proudly voting
for
Abigail Spanberger
for governor.
Spanberger for governor. Service, country, Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'll give you another gem of his.
How do you understand
Katie Tur.
the drop in Democratic registration?
I think that most Democrats think they're bringing a pool noodle to a bar fight. I mean, I think that's really part of it, right? There's this almost this weakness that they're seeing in that. And to Paul's point, I've been asked to run as a Democrat and a Republican now for big office here in Virginia.
For a big office, this guy is, his ego is so big, and it's what's that statement? There was an old quote. The problem with the people who are right is they're saying the right thing quietly, and the people who are misguided are saying the wrong thing loudly. That's this guy. I mean, he comes forth with all this machismo, obviously very aggressive, and he's aggressively wrong. And I don't care what other people say. There's nothing more dangerous than a person who is flat convinced he's right all the time, like this guy. This is bringing a pool noodle to a bar fight. He must be drunk. I mean, who is bringing guns to the party? I mean, look at the riots. I know officers in Minneapolis who had live rounds fired at their head. That never happened on J6. Okay. Here's another little piece on Mr. Riggleman. He's now with Rutgers University. Look at it. Look at this. He served in the U.S. Air Force as an intelligence officer. Okay, so is he just so far into the deep state apparatus thing? He is currently CEO of Riggleman Information and Intelligence Group. We're going to go back to the piece by John Solomon here in just a second, because I think that's an important piece of information right there. Look at this. First, only the stupid believe J6 was an inside job coordinated by the FBI. Ray Epps BS comes to mind. Okay, Denver, explain the Ray Epps situation. I mean, we've all seen it. This guy's Twitter feed is just full of this kind of crap. He's just so worked up about J6. But here he's really upset. He owns some distilleries. Folks are still coming in, but per ticket, per person has been dropping over last year, accelerating over the last 4 months. We were hit with 50% tariffs and shipping is way up, plus overall increased costs. The combination of lower revenue and crippling economic policy tariffs have been difficult to manage. Only ways to manage that are to decrease production, cut labor, and raise prices. You can only squeeze so much out of efficiencies. It's happening everywhere, not hard to see. Bad policy and stupidity create chaos that downward flows to destroy American-owned business. So what he's really upset with is his business has been harmed by the tariffs. I think that's what's really got this guy off on a tizzy now. But let me go back to here. So what's interesting about this is this guy, Denver Riggleman, is responsible for collecting these millions of lines of data. And he also was helping Biden's legal team in its effort to cast doubt on the laptop belonging to Joe Biden's son. His hatred for Trump had blinded him so much, guy has TDS, that he was willing to go along with the 51 intelligence officers, even when they knew that the Biden laptop was real. The FBI memo does not reveal whether the Bureau ever took Kinzinger up on his offer, but it does reveal the sheer magnitude of a phone surveillance project the Democrats ran by using congressional subpoenas to gather phone records about America's contacts with the Trump White House. Kinzinger told the FBI that the J6 committee collected and linked a substantial amount of telephone data and noted the FBI may already possess such data. I'm sure they do. While former Congressman Denver Riggleman worked with the Select Committee, he had a contract that was able to obtain toll information. So this guy, through his contract, he worked with the Select Committee. He had a contact who was this contact? Including for White House route or switchboard numbers via congressional subpoena. Kinzinger noted that he did not conduct the analysis himself, but that Riggleman had identified certain telephone connections between numbers identified as being associated with the White House and certain individuals. It was revealed last week that Special Counsel Jack Smith and the Biden-era FBI collected the private phone records of 8 Republican senators and 1 GOP House member as part of its investigation into the Capitol riot. Okay? So again, and then there was the FBI's Arctic Frost. We are learning just how corrupt, can you imagine? This is why I tire of people. I really do. I tire of the comments about, what's Trump done or just that. Stop. Are you kidding me? Do you see what we were up against? Does anybody actually see? I mean, Arctic Frost, the phone records and I'm really sick of hearing these GOP senators get so worked up over the fact that their phone records were searched. A sitting member of the U.S. Senate, a sitting United States senator. What about a sitting United States of America citizen? Why don't they get worked up about that? Drives me nuts. Kathy. Hi, Neil. I met some wonderful people from Ottertail over the weekend. I told them to check you out. I'm from Ohio. We were together at DC for Communion America. Cool. Ottertail, folks. Ottertail County in Minnesota. More lakes than any other county in the state. Over 4,000 lakes. I wrote a book, Resorts of Minnesota, and I catalog all that stuff. It's pretty amazing. So, look, I can't even believe that we're at the point where we're even considering calling this guy a Republican in any form of media. The guy's not. Needs a Biden pardon, protects the Hunter Biden laptop, goes all AWOL on J6, collecting the phone records of these people who had called the White House. Wild. Folks, go check out my sponsor, MyPillow, mypillow.com/lumberjack to save up to 66%, actually up to 80% on some of the clearance items. 1-800-568-2865. The big thing, folks, still free shipping on Lumberjack Logic orders. Also, the towels are there. Folks, these towels, let me just tell you, these are the greatest towels you will ever use in your entire life. And no, that's not hyperbole. Okay. Mike learned some years ago that the reason that, because he did a commercial with it where, you pour water into one towel, water into the other. My towel absorbs it, the other towel doesn't, because they're filled up with waxy fillers and oils to make them feel soft in the store. These are not. This is premium cotton. These, you get some, you'll love them. You'll never want to use another towel again in your life. Okay. Get some Giza sheets too, man. Phenomenal. Travel pillows. It'd be great. We always wonder, well, what can we get for small presents? Go get some Travel My Pillows. The Roll and Go pillows. They're phenomenal. Take mine everywhere with me. Use it all the time. I even use it at home. Use it when I'm camping. I'm gonna go check out. Gonna go do a little deer hunting again this weekend with the kids. And tell you what, man, be using my pillow. All right. So, folks, thank you for joining me. I think this is a big story. Like I say, you can always do whatever you want to with my content. I'm not holding on to this saying, oh, you can't use it. I just want it shared. It's nuts. So anyways, I love y'all. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.